Roderick wonders if Aster is really the one hunting him, since he basically handed him the Eastern subjugation force. Our hero is totally speechless. He realizes his father used him as bait and tossed him aside once he was totally spent. Roderick snaps that this is just what happens to the wingless, staring daggers at Aster. Now look! The Elmhame houses the Cardinal's elite martial family, sworn to the royals. Its leader is Lord Roderick, the kingdom's only 7th wing-bearer in the entire land. He once saved Aster from a freezing snowstorm on a total whim when he was just an infant. To pay back that massive debt, Aster did everything they ever asked, but they treated him like street garbage for being born wingless. See, Regressed shows magic power. More wings equals win more mana. Since he had zero magic, he swung his sword until he practically collapsed. He worked out constantly, too, rising and running, praying his hard work would eventually pay off. Then one day, while he was out with his crew, he realized it was a setup. Looking back, he trusted his father until the bitter end, only to be betrayed. Roderick cold-bloodedly says he never expected anything from a simple tool. Aster takes one deep breath, then he lunges forward, ready, cursing himself for being stupid enough to believe in him. But his strike barely leaves a scratch on his father. Suddenly, 2 other swordsmen jump into the fray. They brutally slice off one of his arms and a leg. The bad guy asks if he's blind, because a wingless loser stays a loser. Crawling in the dirt like a bug suits him just fine. Aster gasps, wondering why he was even saved if he'd just be thrown away. His father tells him to quit dreaming he never actually needed him. He grabs him roughly by the hair, warning him that he only wanted the 7th whimper hiding inside him. Our main character has no idea what he's talking about. Then he mentions that Aster's mother turned out to be pretty useful. After all, she carried the seed for his grand plan. Aster begs him to wait, totally confused by these dark secrets. But all that was left for him was a bloody end. After the final step, he wonders if this is death. What was his life even for? Suddenly, he feels a strange warmth. Is this the afterlife? Then, he suddenly sneezes, and realizes he is definitely still alive. But he has zero clue where he is. His body is tiny, just like a newborn. He puts the pieces together. He's definitely been reincarnated as a baby. Then he looks over. He's lying in a dead woman's arms. So he decides to fire up his tracking skill. His past knights kilometers away, ordering a search for the woman. They need to find the baby stolen from Lord Roderick at any cost. Aster is completely shocked. He heard them talking about his father and hunting for a baby, which is him. This means he's traveled back to the past, since this is exactly how his life started the first time around. The whole situation feels absurd, even though the knights are closing in. He knows it's game over if the Duke gets his hands on him. So he uses every ounce of strength to crawl as far as possible. He can barely breathe, and his tiny limbs feel like they're on fire, but he keeps pushing. He has to survive. In his heart, he swears he'll get his revenge on Roderick. Then, he passes out. A young girl walks up and calls for her father. This is Avery, a local viscount. He scoops up the baby, totally baffled by a kid being out in the snow after spotting that weird tree on the ground. He is stunned. He can't believe a tiny baby managed to cover such a massive distance alone. He can only wonder who this kid actually is. Suddenly he wakes up with someone literally cutting off his hair. The little girl tells the baby to behave, threatening to break his nose if he stays naughty. Our main character has no clue what kind of mess he stepped into. He hates all these kids grabbing at him, so he drops down and bolts as fast as possible. He has no clue why they are even chasing him. He tries to activate his power, but suddenly he is thrown right off the roof. He is shocked to see magic at play before he just starts falling through the air. He panics because he can't stop the free fall. Right then, Overpowered appears and catches him. He finds the baby pretty mysterious since he literally just fell out of the sky. The main character is stunned when he sees exactly who it is. He knows that man is Viscount Overpowered, the older brother of Roderick. He can't believe that he ended up in another branch of the Elmhame family. Overpowered is actually the head of the Viscount house, which is just another part of that lineage. Back in the day, he and his brother were assigned to protect the royal family. But as far as the main character knew, Overpowered was supposed to be dead, lost in a civil war that destroyed the family. He's sure he traveled back in time, But he hates that he escaped the Duke's family only to get caught by the Viscount brother instead. Rosalie is actually impressed that the kid's power is spiraling out of control again, and smiles and tells him everything is fine, even if he's scared. Aster is totally caught off guard by her kindness. Hive-Right agrees, noting that the main character clearly possesses some truly massive power. The proof is in the tattoos on his back. When he lifts his shirt in the mirror, he's shocked to see the 7 wings symbol. He has no idea why it is on his body and tries to make sense of what's happening. He remembers his father saying before death that he needed the 7 wings power inside that body. It makes him realize Roderick only kidnapped him as a baby to steal that specific strength for himself. Realizing this makes him furious. His former father had the nerve to steal his power and then treat him like literal garbage. Rosalie turns toward her husband. She asks what they plan to do with the kid. The main character knows this is bad. He cannot let this power fall back into the hands of the Elmhame family. He needs the power for his revenge. However, Hive-Right announces that they are going to adopt him. The main character is shocked to hear that. He says the boy is still just a baby and a tiny hatchling can't fly on its own. So until the moment he's ready to take flight, he'll take full responsibility for raising the boy. Aster is overwhelmed with emotion right now. Just then, the girls of the house tumbled through the door. The Viscount asks if they were eavesdropping and Elizabeth apologizes, saying they were all just worried about the kid. As they chat, Rosalie lifts the boy up and declares his name will be Aster, the name of a new star born into their family. After that, 10 years pass. Hive-Right is greeted by his servant, and the main character steps down from the carriage. Now free into his adolescence, he tells his sister to watch her step and Elfin thanks him for being such a gentleman. The two head inside for the annual sword dance assembly. It's an event hosted by the Chaos family under the Elmhame banner, serving as a huge social gathering for all the noble martial families. It is a place for nobles to deepen their faith, while also giving every family a chance to show off. They get to test the strength of every swordsman who carries the proud family name. The free enters the venue. People start whispering that the Viscount's family is here, clearly ready to embarrass themselves again since they never seem to learn their lesson. They also point out that the family adopted a random kid with absolutely no future at all. Aster keeps walking calmly. His sister is annoyed and tells him not to worry. She guarantees she's going to crush all the literal trash standing in their way. Aster can definitely see how annoyed she is with everything right now. His father warns him that this is the current state of the Viscount house. He wanted to show Aster everything he would eventually face and asks if he is disappointed by it all. Aster just smiles and says he is fine. He even thinks this cold welcome actually fits him well. Hive-Right is relieved. Aster remembers his past life debut was a total disaster that shamed the family name back then. Was a bitter memory, but now he's a powerful 7-wing. He glances over to the side. High up in the mansion, he spots the 2 former brothers who murdered him in his past life. He shows no reaction. First, he must make a grand debut. Reina battle started back when knights were the ultimate rulers of the land. They were searching for anyone who possessed true splendor. This meant sword mastery, fame, and proving both through a magnificent display of combat. It stood as the absolute symbol of the Crystal Darza family. Elvin watches these intense fights and knows how intimidating the atmosphere is. Now she knows why her sisters and friends stayed home. Aster starts thinking back to his previous life. He remembers his defeat, but Elfin suddenly pulls him back to the present. She asks if he is nervous, which makes sense since this is his first sword dance meeting. Aster tells her he is actually fine. Deep down, he is just feeling a bit of nostalgia. She looks confused by his strange expression. His father heads off to a conference, leaving Aster in charge of looking after Elfin for now. She hates that idea, considering she is actually older than Aster is. Hive-Right tells Aster to network since many kids his age are here. Then he whispers a warning: do not let anyone find out about the 7 wings. Aster considers the advice, but looking at the vibe of the room, he knows making friends in this hostile environment is going to be impossible. He looks off to the side. He starts walking away, but his sister asks what he thinks he is doing. He simply tells her he's going to make friends. He enters another room and walks right up to Dorisel. He introduces himself as Aster Elmhame, and says Dorisel can just think of him as a younger brother. The boy is not happy about that at all. Green mocks him, calling him the little stray the vacant house decided to adopt. Doris bursts out laughing, finally processing the sheer audacity of this kid. Doris and Green are the Elmhame the very same people who killed Aster in his past life. Back then, these two seemed like terrifying monsters to him, but right now, they just look like children playing pretend. Suddenly, someone calls out his name. It is Elfin, telling him to come back now that the greetings are finished. Doris calls out to her. He asks if she plans on hiding behind her father again today. Then he orders her to entertain them, claiming the main house demands it. She refuses, since the branch house does not take orders from the main house like servants. Aster tells her to wait because he is not done talking yet, but he notices his sister is shaking and starts to feel bad. The boy mocks them again, seeing her night father failed to protect the king. He says his own younger brother cut off the man's arm as punishment, and he is glad they do not share blood. This makes her so furious that she demands he take back every word he just said. He spits the drink right in her face and says girls are useless because they can't inherit any titles. He mocks her, saying this isn't a ball. Next time, she better wear better rags so she doesn't get soaked. Our hero is watching all of this. He expected to be worried or angry when he saw them, but looking at those faces, he feels nothing. He snatches a bottle from some kid. He brushes past his sister, telling her to step back. He tosses the bottle at Rice, who catches it without a clue. Rice draws his blade and slices it apart, proving he is still the same arrogant jerk he has always been. The liquid sprays all over the guy's clothes. Aster wipes his hand across the wet part of the blade. He takes a small taste of the juice. He calls it nothing but grape juice. Honestly, it's the perfect drink for whiny little noble babies like them. 3 years back, the lead was training and unleashed massive power. The girls actually asked if he was trying to murder his sisters. Everyone there was absolutely terrified. He finally witnessed the strength of the 7 wings. He had no clue he was carrying such a dangerous amount of energy. Hybrid wasn't even sure if the power could keep it under control. That power could possess him. Begging the president, a servant bursts into the meeting, shouting that something terrible just went on. They snap at him, asking what he wants since they are in a conference. The man reports that the main house and the Elmhame branch family are currently dueling. Neither of the fathers can believe it. Hybrid jumps to his feet immediately. An Elfin appears, screaming for him. The other family leader tells everyone to look down at the fight. We are looking at a serious fight between Elmhame brothers. That is a rare sight. Depending on how this sword dance match concludes, things are about to get very messy. Dorisel shouts excitedly that some media picked a fight with the Duke's house. Being a stray, he clearly doesn't understand the power gap. The crowd roars, spotting the 4-wing crest. They know the Duke's son is on an entirely different level. He demands the other boy show his crest too. He mocks him, asking if he is too ashamed to show it to the public. Aster agrees, saying it really is embarrassing to show off a basic pattern with that much pride. He adds that he is actually incapable of doing something so simple. That insult makes the boy absolutely furious. Our protagonist says that if he wins, the boy must apologize to his sister. Dorisel agrees but vows to turn him into a lapdog if he loses. With that, Mice lunges forward, launching his first strike. Aster manages the block. He realizes the blow was incredibly heavy. Dorisel breaks that this is the true strength of the wings, and he keeps the pressure on with a non-stop rush of strikes. Elfin screams for her brother. Berg notes the young master's sword skills are still green, but in this world, raw magic power can make up for a lack of technique. Those with wing crystals hold the advantage. If one wing is like a flickering candle, then the magic from Dorisel's 4 wings is like a massive explosion. He keeps swinging, never letting up, while mocking the bar about where all his bravery went. He asks if he is finally ready to start apologizing yet. He leaps into the air for the finisher. Everyone thinks the match is over, but then Aster counterattacks. The boys are stunned. Aster tells him he talks way too much. He blasts him back with a massive surge of power from his blade. During the fight, he remembers spending 10 years in that Viscount's house, mastering his magic and waiting for this exact moment to get even. The hero pushes forward even harder. He attacks relentlessly, forcing Dorisel down to his knees. The crowd watching can't believe how the tide of this battle has completely shifted. Aster starts to realize his magic is spinning out of control. However, it notices it too and realizes the situation is looking bad. Even worse, our hero remembers when this sim broke out his arm off in his past life. The memory just makes him even angrier, pushing it until even more power surge. His dad screams from above, telling him to back off. Finally, he lands a massive finishing blow with so much force that his blade actually snaps. Darius is shaking with fear. He was almost sliced right in half. Aster tells him to wear diapers next time so he doesn't keep wetting the floor. He looks up, seeing his sister's happy face. He realizes he isn't the same old Ash anymore and that thought alone is enough to clear his head. Suddenly, he flinches. Across the arena, someone is letting off a massive wave of pure killing intent. Aster whips his head around. He can tell right away that Roderick is responsible, and that is definitely not good news. Nobody can believe the Viscount's youngest kid actually be the third son of the main house. Aster stays standing while Darius watches. Roderick is now face to face with Aster, and the two just stare each other down, looking us for a long moment. Darius takes his chance and runs straight over to his father. He calls Aster a mongrel who dared to challenge the main house, begging his dad to put him in his place. Roderick just glares at his son with pure rage. Then he crushes the boy's arm using his sword sheath. Darius is terrified, just like everyone else there. Roderick asks why the loser is smiling like an idiot, demanding to know if he understands how much he just shamed the family name. However, Ed knows what his brother is about to do and screams for him to stop. Roderick ignores him, gripping his blade and warning that the loser has no right to even hold a sword. He stops mid-motion and looks straight ahead. He asks Aster why on earth he's stepping in front of Darius. Aster points out that his cousin hasn't apologized to his sister yet. He asks his uncle to hold off on the punishment until that's finished. Roderick lets his power flare. He mentions hearing the boy was just an orphan his brother took in, and now he thinks he's a real Elmhame. He declares he's the Viscount's son. Even without the bloodline, his father taught him about a knight's pride and the heavy burden of carrying our family name. Roderick glances at his brother before telling Aster that he treasures the main house's reputation. He needs to realize that this isn't just some little game. This isn't just some playground fight between children. However, I'd even offered up his own arm to pay for the disloyalty. So he asks what Aster will offer. Aster demands respect, arguing it wasn't a family spat but a real duel. He was just using his sword to answer the insults thrown at the Viscount's house. He throws the Duke's own words back at him, saying if you can take revenge, you shouldn't even hold a blade. He won't give up a single finger. Brock is stunned by the comeback, and the cloud-haired guy can believe Aster is only 10 years old. Roderick flares his sword again, but then sheathes his sword after finally reading the room. Then he tells him, draw your sword. Aster has a bad feeling about what's coming next. In a heartbeat, the Duke's sword swings at him with incredible, violent force. It blasts him into the wall like he was hit by a bazooka. Elfin is horrified, and High-Rise screams in fury at his brother. He charges in with his sword, but Roderick easily blocks him and leaps forward. He runs out, shouting for his son. Then he stops dead. Aster is totally fine. He managed to block the strike, even though his blade snapped, and his eyes never wavered. Roderick takes it all in, and just turns to walk away. Aster's legs finally give out now, and his father catches him. He says he properly protected their family's pride. However, it agrees it was magnificent as the Duke heads up the stairs. Brock points out that he was pretty immature, but he gets that letting the boy say whatever he wanted would have completely ruined the house's reputation. And it really was total madness to make such bold statements against the Duke himself. Either way, he can't imagine a better social debut, even if it did make everyone nervous about splitting the family. Roderick says an era of revolt is coming soon. A storm big enough to divide the world into pieces will arrive. A few days after this event, at the training field, Aster takes down his opponent. The boy who lost says how magnificent it was. Just how strong Master Aster really is now. Other boys say his skills are terrifying for a 10-year-old. He's been training even more since the sword dance. Plus, they heard the boy defeated the third son of Duke Roderick. The main house made them deal with trouble for a long time, so it's a refreshing story to hear. Aster figures he showed off enough power and presence at that sword dance gathering. This shook quite the people, calling the Viscount's house a disgrace to the Elmhame name. But they aren't his real target. He just wanted to see how far his abilities could actually go. He got his wish at the meeting, but he barely managed to block one single attack, so he knows that right now he's no match for Duke Roderick. In the end, those wing crests just show how much hidden magic power someone is actually carrying. Natural magic is totally wasted if you can't control it. He still isn't able to extract the full 7 wings power. If he could just test the power, he'd feel way better about not losing control. He keeps taking down every opponent, and asks if there's anyone else available. Elfen shows up, noticing his effort, and tells him that their father is calling for him. Aster says he'll be right there. But first, he notices something weird. It's unusual wall, since he thought she didn't want to wear that outfit because it wasn't pretty. She says balance matters. Watching him made her realize she can't just keep staying the way she is. Then she punches her wooden sword, and tells him that he's training with her when he gets back. Aster just laughs and begs her to please leave him out of it. He heads back to the mansion, opens the office door, and asks his father if he needs something. Ivory tells him to take a seat. He says it's been 10 years since he joined them. He thought about waiting, but now is the time to give him a jewel. He replies that it's the proof of the next head of the family, because he wants him to inherit the Viscount's house. They're in a delicate position, but they're still part of the branch family carrying the Elmhame name, as lords of the land. They have a lot to protect. They cannot leave the earth part empty forever. Aster wonders if his sisters are cool with that. The girls at the night school return in 3 days, and he plans to tell them then. Aster knows he's talking about Marv and Kudo, and they definitely won't be happy about it. Especially Kudo. He tells his dad those girls hate that he was born male and given the 7 wings, so he turns down the offer. That is because he still can't control his own magic. He's an idiot who almost killed his own sister while training to master his power. Someone who can't even handle an angry sister isn't fit for the position. His father laughs that answer, admitting he often wondered if Aster was actually just a child, and originally intended for the ring to be a reward for the upcoming sword dance gathering. He places another box on the table and says that Aster will probably be much happier with this. Aster is stunned. He knows that's the magic sword Grandma blade that controls the 7 wings and devours words. The two of them head outside. Aster asks if the training room would have been enough since they're just looking at the sword. His father says this is a precaution, though, because he's already seen Aster break way too many things in the past. He presents the magic sword Grim as the legendary blade meant for the eldest son of the Elmhame family. He bites the leather strap that covers the sword. Aster is totally shocked. He's shocked to see the sword is broken. Havrid explains that while there's no physical blade, he can manifest a massive one using his magic. This is because the weapon is a blade of potential, completed only by the magical power of the person who wields it. He fires a blast that obliterates every tree in front of them. He explains that mediocre magical power will be completely drained by the blade. Since it's a sword with a lot of history, he asks if Aster would like to test it out. He takes the blade in hand. He immediately realizes his mind is being put into the sword, because the energy is flowing on its own. A giant beam of light can be seen shooting up from a distance. The students wonder if a car just crashed nearby. Elvin sees it from a distance. She imagines it must be her brother. Aster lies on the ground, calling the sword extraordinary. His father is terrified. No, his son's power is extraordinary. Aster knows that there has never been a person with a 7-wing crest. Even when looking back through the entire history of the Elmhame family lineage, Havrid comments that once he masters this power, he will likely become a swordsman who far surpasses even him. He might even surpass the 6-wing Lord Roderick. Aster can't believe he could surpass the Duke. Havrid warns that excessive power leads to conflict. If people knew he was a 7-wing, they'd envy and hate him, while others would just try to exploit his strength for themselves. Finally, there will be those who will certainly try to eliminate him for being an inconvenient existence. He shouldn't regret being helpless when that day comes. He wants him to become strong while he still can. Aster thinks he's right. He doesn't want to live a miserable, pathetic life like he did in his past incarnation anymore. He thanks his father, promising that he will definitely master that magic sword and the power of the 7 wings. 3 days later, they return home. The sisters are back. Kudo lets out a dramatic cough. She calls for her little sisters, dying for a hug. They run to Malfoy, their favorite. Malfoy asks if Kudo gets a hug too, but they complain that their older sister always messes up their hair. They find the whole thing super annoying. This is absurd. She's a knight, not a child. Then she spots Elvin and she rushes over to hug her. She's being suffocated by the hug. Malfoy notices Aster is missing and asks where he's hiding. Harry feels a little bit awkward about telling her exactly where he is. Kudo gets suspicious right away. It is because Aster is out training in the deep forest. He lets out massive power through his blade. A cold sweat starts rolling down his face. He can conjure a blade with magic, but barely keeping it stable is pushing him to his absolute limit. He wonders what it takes to actually match his father. Suddenly, Kudo shows up, telling him he has really outdone himself. She asks if he was being called by not greeting his own favorite sister. She asks if he thinks he's too special to even say hello to them. She even heard about the sword dance assembly. The Knight Academy is buzzing with rumors about him. He fires back, noting that even as a trainee, she has already cleared a ton of missions. She was even the only knight to earn the honorary medal this year. Kudo says it was the bare minimum if she ever wants to follow in her father's footsteps. Then she brings up that he turned down the succession and asks if it was because of her. Aster cannot believe his dad spilled the beans already. It is just going to cause so many unnecessary problems. He tells her he simply does not think he is worthy of the role. She reaches for a sword, calling him and their father cruel for ignoring what she truly wants. With one swift strike, she cleaves a tree in half. It goes flying right at him. Aster dodges instantly. He asks what the hell she is doing out of nowhere. She says it has been way too long since their last spar, and this time she promises she is catching him. Aster tells her to wait because his sword is not ready. She asks if he plans to make excuses on a real battlefield too. He does not get what that has to do with this. Kudo gets into a stance, saying a knight is always ready for war. If he keeps holding back, she's going to crush him. She vanishes, then strikes from the air. Aster hates this. His hands are full just trying to manage his magic, but he channels it into the blade anyway. If he does not, she will get mad enough to actually kill him. The force gets wrecked by their duel, and Kudo actually praises his moves, saying they are as sharp as ever. She did not think he would keep up after training at the academy, but then she mocks his sword, calling it pathetic because he has zero control over the magic. She sends him flying backward. Aster sighs that his sister is still as relentless as ever. Since they were kids, she has been like this. He thinks it might be because he is the only male heir with the right to succeed as head of the family. He is the special one with a wing crest like no other. She was like a living storm, always picking fights over the smallest things. Basically, she is his worst nightmare. Suddenly, she drops from the sky again. She screams that just like she thought, he is not fit to lead the house. Back at the mansion, Mars asks her father if leaving them alone was really a good idea. At this rate, someone is going to get hurt. Hybrid says they are just rivals in their own way, and while they are Regressed, they would never go that far. She really hopes that is the truth. She asks why he really called them back from the academy if it was not just for the talk. He says it was not. He puts out a letter of formal summons from the main house of Elmhame. They want to see their grandson in person. She knows this is a huge deal. Her father agrees, noting that in the worst case, they might lose Aster. The fight rages on. Aster tells her to stop being ridiculous since he already turned the whole succession thing down. She snaps back, saying their dad found that refusal pretty insulting. She lunges again, crushing him with pressure. He can really feel the weight behind her attack. It feels like he is tearing down a massive troll wielding a giant hammer. He shifts his stance to redirect the blow. Then he sets up his counter, but she tells him not to run away. She connects with a brutal hit. The sheer power makes him question the brute force he just felt. She taunts him, calling him a third-class scrub who can only swing a sword. He only has one type of magic. He will only be first class when he finally masters both. After dropping that truth bomb, she admits she is totally disappointed in him. Those wing symbols measure exactly how much mana someone can use. A difference of just one wing makes you roughly 3 times more powerful than the rank below. In other words, based on mana output and endurance, her 5 wings should make her totally inferior to his 7 wing level. but he avoids a direct power struggle and falls back on his favorite style swordsmanship. She wonders if he hates his own power or if he's just scared of losing his mind again like 3 years ago. At his home, he had never really stopped to think about being afraid of his own 7-wing strength. He wasn't consciously holding himself back. He realizes his blade felt stable only because he was forcing himself to suppress all that magic. Kudo warns him that he has everything she ever dreamed of. If he is arrogant enough to ignore his luck and throw it all away without a second thought, then he should just hand the power over to her. She actually knows how to use it properly. Aster takes one deep breath and counters with massive, colossal power. She is stunned. She went all out with max power, yet he brushed her off easily. He thanks her. Thanks to her, his eyes are finally open to the truth. He moves forward without even putting mana into his blade. She does not get it. It is not like she is out of mana or anything. Meanwhile, our hero realizes the insane magic hidden inside those 7 wings is just on another level. He can't fully control it yet. But for one instant, he must forget everything and focus all his magic into the hit. After taking the hit, she admits he actually pulled something off, even if it was a total gamble. Aster makes it clear he has no intention of wasting this second chance at life. Plus, he finally holds the power that was always meant for him. Not just the sword or the family. Those were things he could never grab before, no matter how hard he tried. But that mention of a second chance, that really gets Kudo's attention. He doesn't give her a second to breathe. He strikes from above, vanishes, then suddenly reappears from below, and he tells her he is not holding back anymore. She is startled. He is attacking from an angle that she literally cannot block. A little while later, she wakes up. She wonders if she is back in her room. Martha pulls the curtains open, thrilled to see her finally awake. Kudo immediately asks about the duel with Aster. She has zero memory of how it actually ended. Her sister laughs, explaining that Aster carried her back to the mansion. He said she passed out mid-fight, likely just from the pure exhaustion of her long trip. Kudo knows something is off. At the very last second, she was sure Aster had cut her. But in reality, he had dissolved his magic blade right before it actually hit her. Only the leftover fragments of that man actually touched her body. She realizes that he really would not kill his own sister. But for one terrifying second, she was absolutely sure she was going to die. She grins, thinking he is a totally obnoxious little brother, even if he is younger. Kudo grabs her sword. She jumps up and yells that the fight was garbage and she demands a rematch immediately. But Martha cuts in, seeing Aster has already left. She has no idea what that is supposed to mean. Her sister explains that there was a formal summons from the main house addressed to him, and he already left with their father. Kudo just cannot believe it. Meanwhile, inside the carriage, our hero continues his journey. His father says they are meeting the elders who support House Elmhame from the shadows. He knows they are former heads of the main house who still hold massive power. Even after retiring from their duties, they basically rule from the shadows. He admits he is worried because these elders ignored his adoption, but suddenly they want to see him now. Aster thinks this is all because of the mess at the Sword Dance Festival. The elders care more about reputation than money or even life itself. Word is, if you shame the family, they throw you into a cage filled with starving, ferocious beasts. His dad is impressed he knows so much and asks where he picked up those scary rumors. Feeling awkward, he says he just heard it somewhere and is fully prepared for execution or being banished. Hybrid asks if he is really okay with traveling without a dedicated security escort. He says he is fine, since his original plan was to leave the moment his sisters arrive. Besides, that is probably better for Kudo since she cannot stand him anyway. Plus, thanks to her, he is finally starting to understand his own true power. He feels he can tap into the 7 wings better than before, so if anything goes wrong, he begs them not to save him. His father gets ready to reply. Then, a voice from outside startles them, asking what he means by being alone when he is taking on so much responsibility as a child. They look out to see his sister Kudo is literally clinging to the carriage. He asks if she seriously just ran all those kilometers. She climbs inside, calling him cruel for leaving without even saying a single word to her. She heard the great elders summon him, something that never happened to her or her sisters. Hybrid asks if she truly understands how big of a deal this actually is. The girl says she gets it, especially since she heard their father left her in charge while he was away. Because this summons sickness, a major crisis where everyone needs to be extra cautious. Even Martha agreed, saying this is a situation where our hero might not even return. He says that is an exaggeration because he is just talking to elders. But deep down, he knows coming back safely is another story. Kudo points right at him. She tells him she hates him for being a man and for having those 7 wings. Plus, being treated special and being stronger than his big sister while acting like a total adult. It's just super irritating to her. Even so, she admits that he is a precious member of the family. No matter how strong he is or how much he acts like an adult, he is still her little younger brother. Because of that, she tells him he better come back soon. They need a rematch. And she swears she will never forgive him if he quits while he is ahead. With that, she jumps right off the carriage. His father laughs, thinking that girl makes for one amazing rival. Our main character agrees and silently thanks her for trusting him. He has to return safely. Once they arrive, the girls welcome them and say the great elder is already waiting inside for them. Hybrid says there is no need for a guide since he knows the way. But the guard insists he cannot allow them to strict orders. He reflects that, as expected, the elder did not summon them just to pamper his grandson. This definitely does not seem like that kind of environment. However, our hero finds it all very interesting. The place feels nostalgic to him since it has been a very long time since his last visit. As they walk, Hybrid asks him to please understand the situation. Aster knows he cannot lose his cool today, no matter what people say. He agrees, but as that it really depends on how the other side behaves. That is going to be a problem. He needs to keep a very close eye on the person he is about to meet. Right at that moment, the main character notices something. He realizes Rise is nowhere to be found. He knows a return is unlikely, though, since his dominant hand was crushed and any kind of recovery will take time. Because he is so distracted, his father snaps at him for not listening to a single word being said. He quickly apologizes, promising that he will stay completely silent for the rest of the day. After all, he promised his sister that he would return home safe and sound. The massive doors of the mansion swing open. A guard announces that Lord Hybrid and his son have finally arrived. The great elder lets out a laugh, noting it has been 10 years since he last saw Hybrid. The Viscount bows politely, agreeing that it has indeed been a very long time since their last meeting. The main character stays silent. He knows that the man standing before him is Zenith, the monster hiding in the shadows of the Elmhame family as the 6th head of the main house. He even spots a few familiar faces he recognizes from the sword dance. He wonders if Roderick is somewhere in the room, just as he thinks it. The elder says the man isn't here. This startles him as if the old man read his mind. Zenith explains that Roderick leads the knights serving the royal family and has no time for trivial stuff. Instead, the old soldiers are the ones handling all the administrative work. Aster realizes he never actually bothered to meet with any of the elders during his past life. Gathering so many executives without the current head proves that the old man is truly powerful. Hybrid wastes no time, asking what trivial matters they are there to discuss. The elder laughs, considering the reason for being here should be obvious. He mentions hearing that the Viscount has little pet calls create a mess at the sword dance festival. The main character already figured that this would be the topic. Lord Hybrid points out that the current head has already taken care of this entire matter. But the elder claims that was just a show for the public. The fact remains that the Elmhame name was tarnished. Adopting a child of unknown origin was a massive mistake in their eyes. They would have ignored it if he stayed harmless. But since he turned down the house, they must punish him. This also means the Viscount will be receiving an appropriate punishment. Right then, the main character stands up, telling them to wait. He did everything on his own, and his father had nothing to do with it. But when he glances over to the side, he sees the Viscount shaking his head, reminding him that he was supposed to stay quiet and keep himself under control. The executive sneer, noting that the burglary lacks discipline since he keeps interrupting the adults while they are speaking. Zenith stands up, declaring that they once led 12,000 knights under their banner. They always carry the Elmhame house emblem. But the knights aren't a monolith. There are crowds of people constantly plotting against the main house, and naturally every other place as well. All they really want is peace of mind. Actual proof that the main character won't bring any harm to the Elmhame house. He draws his sword and asks if the Viscount remembers failing to protect his sovereign, dragging the family name through the mud. Back then, they only ordered Roderick to cut off his arm. Then, with a truly terrifying expression, he orders him to cut off Aster's head. The main character is absolutely terrified, but Hybrid simply refuses, stating that if he has to kill his own son, he would rather take his own life. Aster is stunned by his father's words, but the elder will not accept such a thing. Instead, he points out that they must all die: the wife, the daughters, and every single member of the family. He announces that the Viscount's entire house is now dissolved. Instantly, every guard points their sword directly at the two of them. Right then, the main character cannot hold back and asks why the great elder is so afraid. The old man turns around and orders him to say that again. He says he even understands being banished or punished somehow, but he warns them if they touch his family, things will get ugly. He rips off his shirt, silently apologizing to his father because he can't stay quiet anymore. Everyone freezes in shock. They're looking right at the legendary 7 Wings emblem. Aster warns the group that if they keep this up, the Elmhame house will officially become an enemy of the 7 Wings. He tells them they better think very carefully about their next move before they cross that line. The executives mutter that this is totally impossible. They claim it must be a fake since that mark hasn't appeared on a human in hundreds of years. Still, they can't deny the truth. The crest is absolutely unmistakable and they all know exactly what it represents. The elder looks at him and asks if he really understands what it means to reveal that emblem right now. He says yes, figuring that the more wings people see, the more they'll freak out. The guy with the cloudy hair bursts out laughing. He apologizes for losing his cool. Then the nymph explains that the wing emblem is actually an organ used to generate massive magical power. It's a gift spirits shared with humans long ago. By passing this peaceful power to their kids, humans have made it even stronger over time. Yet, no human has ever reached 7 wings. The only ones who ever did were the Wind Clan, the true ancestors of the spirits. Aster asks if he's trying to claim he's part of the spiritual clan himself. He replies that if the mark is real, then that's exactly what it means. Hybrid is silent. The boy says he's just the son of a Viscount and his birth shouldn't matter right now. What he really wants to know is if they actually have the guts to make an enemy out of someone like him. He points out that if the Elmhame house kicks him out, plenty of other martial nobles will kill to have the 7 wings on their side. Since they're already scared of a rebellion, he'd be a massive threat. They would much rather keep him close, especially since he might even surpass Duke Roderick one day. That statement shocks everyone. He realizes that like the elder, the Elmhame house isn't united. He knows from his past life that a massive civil war is coming to tear the whole country apart. To make sure he and his house survive, he needs to figure out who his real friends and enemies are. Even if it's risky, Zenith tells him to pipe down, since there is still no actual proof that his 7 wings is the real deal. Aster laughs and says if it's fake, they can just kill him and be done with it. But he promises that if they try war with the Elmhame house cards right then, he knows they could kill him easily. But a serious house like theirs might hesitate. He isn't sure if they'll bite the bait. But then, suddenly, Miss starts clapping his hands. He says they're just talking in circles now. He suggests to the great elder that it's time to stop the talking and finally pass judgment on the boy. When the others ask what he's getting at, he says everyone just wants to see the power of the 7 wings. They can decide his fate later. He asks what they think of testing him. Since the world's most famous martial clans mansion must have a few deadly trials ready to go, Aster finally realizes that he's looking at Count Mace, and he knows this guy could be a powerful ally later. The great elder agrees to the plan. He says he's going to teach his grandson a lesson for not knowing how to show proper respect. They head to a dark field. The old man explains there's an underground bunker down there that connects right to the city waterways. It used to be an emergency shelter, but now they keep a lone magical beast down there. The test is simple: kill the monster. Hybrid tells his son that he used to be such a crybaby, and all he wanted was to keep the 7 wings hidden. He apologizes for not being able to keep such a massive secret forever. but admits this is the perfect chance to prove himself. His father warns him to stay sharp as he starts climbing down the chains, and when he looks up, he sees Miss smiling at everything. Once he hits the floor, it's pitch black just like he expected, but thanks to his special abilities, he can still see well enough to get around. But then, something catches him off guard. He starts to rise his head down in the pit. The elder says he gives the kid a chance to clear his name, but he just screamed and cried until the very end. It was pathetic. The monster steps out and lets out a massive roar as they announce the start of the judgment. He realizes the rumors were true. The Elmhames really do keep a beast in the mansion. For once, he actually feels bad for Dorisel. It's a shame so many monsters were born into this family. The magical beast lunges forward to eat him, but he counters in the blink of an eye. He slices the monster into pieces like it's warm butter. The crowd is absolutely stunned. He just shrugs and says his sister is scarier than that overgrown cat. But it's not over yet. He turns around and sees the monster's body starts to mutate. He realizes this thing is actually an undead creature. However, he can't believe his eyes. Why on earth would there be an undead monster hiding in the basement of the main mansion? The elder just laughs. He explains that the beast is attracted to the scent of death and it's hungry for some fresh meat. Since this thing can die, cutting or burning it doesn't matter at all. When he first caught it, he figured it'd be the perfect punching bag to test someone's raw strength and limits. Now they have no trouble dumping bodies. A counselor says capturing a undead is tough even for an elite knight, asking if they'll really let a 7-winged child die. Zenas just shrugs, seeing if he dies. He was just a braggart. To him, a wing crest with 0 power is totally useless and worth less than decoration. He even admits that if Aster dies, they can still find ways to use his corpse, which might actually be more convenient. Miss overhears everything and is completely disgusted. He looks down, silently hoping that Aster doesn't get taken out quite so easily in this fight. Aster keeps swinging, but the monster doesn't even flinch. Its regeneration is insane, way beyond any normal zombie. It makes sense. So how do you kill something that is already dead? It just keeps coming back for more, no matter the damage. To kill it for good, you basically have to fry it in direct sunlight. Or you could use a holy weapon to purify it. Since neither is an up in here, most people would just run away. But retreating isn't his style. If he just uses basic attacks, there is absolutely no point in calling himself a 7 wings. He channels his magic into the blade, desperate to prove what he is actually worth. He decides to flex on the undead with pure brute force. The strike is so heavy it sends the beast flying straight into the wall. The counselor watching from the side actually hits the floor, stunned by the sheer magical pressure of a 7 wings. Is the fight finally over? The elder watches the smoke. He stays alert because he knows it isn't that simple. Suddenly, the undead lunges out, slamming Aster into the dirt with its massive paw. It looks totally fine, which is terrifying. However, screams for his son, but the count warns him not to do anything stupid. He tells him to stay back and not even think about trying to save him. He asks if he's really supposed to just watch his son die. Miss tells him to chill out. He says to look closer, because Aster definitely has a secret trick up his sleeve. See? The kid is actually smiling. He realizes his plan is working exactly like it's supposed to, even while pinned to the dirt. Through this, he's focusing all his power into the sword. In a flash, he conjures a razor-sharp blade right against the monster's stomach. It hits so hard it actually makes the creature cough up a bunch of blood. He asks that he won't stop until it's dead, then blasts a wave of magic upward, literally blowing the undead apart. His dad is shocked watching this, because that's the same move he once showed to Aster. But this time it feels totally different. It is way more powerful than before. The knights yell that the building is gonna collapse since everything is starting to crack. They beg the great elder to get out of there right now. Zenas just keeps watching, finally seeing what the 7 wings are truly capable of. The assistant collapses in total shock, wondering where the beast went and what the hell just happened. The elder thinks it's insane to try and crush an immortal undead with vortex magic, especially doing it with just raw brute force. It's honestly surreal to witness that kind of power in person. He didn't even use technique, just insane amounts of pure, high-quality magical energy. He asks Hyvride if that was all part of his plan. He says no way. clearly impressed by just how much his son has grown in such a short time. Mace doesn't waste a second and asks the elder if the kid passed the exam. He figures nobody here is going to complain about it. The count yells for Aster to come back up since he officially passed the big test. He laughs, saying the chains were vaporized in the blast, so they'll need to toss him a rope. Later, after they get back to the mansion, Zenith asks if he's sure, because he won't get another shot at this. Aster says yes, since he has zero interest in the main family's power struggle. Plus, hanging around the estate would just make his cousins nervous, and his home is strictly in the county anyway. The elder just laughs, thinking the kid is probably just being way too humble for his own good. He tells him to stop hiding the look of ambition in his eyes. He adds that it's obvious he eventually plans to turn his blade against the house of Elmhame itself. Getting straight to the point, he asks if it's Roderick's head he's after. Aster is totally stunned by the direct question. The elder tells him not to get so defensive, adding that he isn't trying to dig into the boy's actual motives. Aster, breaking into a cold sweat, asks why that is and if the rebels aren't supposed to be enemies. Zenith reminds him that they aren't on the same side. Roderick has become a bit too stubborn lately, so if there is someone out there who can keep the Duke in check, then so be it. He's fine with that outcome, but he warns him to watch out. If he ever tries to bite the hand that feeds him, things will end very differently. Aster walks toward the door, thinking everything over. His dad asks if they're finished and what they talked about. He answers that the main family tried to recruit him, but he turned them down. Readies is actually pretty surprised to hear that his son said no. The count walks up and calls it a shame. He says if Aster had joined, he could have lived a much more comfortable life. Aster just looks at him and asks why he actually helped him out earlier. Mace laughs it off and says he has no clue what he's talking about. He just wanted to mess with an arrogant brat. More importantly, from this day forward, the boy is officially one of the 7 wings, in both name and reality. He tells him to look ahead. Everyone in the mansion cannot stop gossiping about it. Some want to recruit him, while others think he should be eliminated before he becomes a real obstacle to them. He emphasizes that the 7 Wings crest carries huge prestige on its own. From this moment on, the number of people who are going to go after him will only increase. Aster, being straightforward as always, asks if the Count is one of those people. Mace replies that above all he is the director of the Knights Academy. Identifying promising young talents early is just part of his job. Then he leaves, saying he looks forward to him enrolling in the academy. Aster gets thoughtful about the talk. Mace is a hard man to read, and he wonders if it is too early to call him an ally. Fred asks to go back because he needs to tell the girls everything about the presentation they just finished. Aster agrees and even thinks his mother will faint when she sees the injuries he ended up with. Elsewhere, the Knight Commander tells Roderick the news that his son Darius lost his life during the trial the Elder Sinners called the other day. The Duke says he understands, but immediately asks about the MC because he heard he was also summoned by the elders of the main family. The Knight thinks it is incredible that the man does not even care what happened to his own son. After thinking that over, he replies that there is indeed something major to report about Aster as well. He explains that the boy is actually a 7 Wings, but Roderick does not even show a hint of surprise. This makes the commander question if he already knew the truth. It means the power balance maintained for so long within the family will probably collapse. So he wants to know if they should take action. The Duke orders him to leave the boy alone for now. If the house were to collapse because of an obstacle like that, it would have fallen long ago. Besides, there is no need to rush since the 7 Wings will eventually be his. So until then, he will let the boy run free. He wants to see how much the baby he let escape 10 years ago can fight. He will enjoy the show for a while. He says that and calls him Ash, son of the 7 Wings. 4 years later, the candidates for the admission exam at the Dorisel Knights Academy are finally announced. People notice someone approaching. At first, they imagine it is the famous boy, but they drop that idea since he should be much stronger. The instructor shows the terms and warns that neither the kingdom nor the cavalry will be responsible for any injuries or accidents. Then he asks them to show their wing crests, since they cannot let anyone without magic pass by accident. The instructor begins to read the signature. He is startled to see that the applicant is from the Elmhame family. Aster, knowing he needs to show the crest, says it is in a place that is difficult to show. Therefore, he asks to be allowed to pass just by showing his face as identification instead. Once inside the academy, he walks calmly until a guy calls him arrogant. This is Viger smiles. He says he has never seen the MC's face before and has no idea which noble house he comes from. He even asks if the boy is in the wrong place, because this area is for the elite of the knights and is the site for the selection exam. Aster just replies that he is exactly where he is supposed to be. That leaves the man so indignant that he says everyone else went through heavy, exhausting work just to dream of walking the glorious path of the elite. In addition, he finds it pathetic to see him walking around with such a small sword at his waist. He makes it very clear that this place is not for some beginner swordsman. Two students watch from afar, commenting that the guy's bothering others again. He never seems to get tired of doing that every year. To make matters worse, they imagine that the person in question is from the Elmhame family, according to the rumors. In other words, Aster of the Seven Wings. The boy becomes thoughtful about that nickname, Seven Wings. At that moment, another person approaches, asking if by any chance that happens to be his cousin Aster there. He looks to the side and sees that it is Gurion. The boy says that apparently no one knows where he came from or was born. Therefore, he took the liberty of calling him cousin. Aster simply says it was a real shame what happened to Dorisel. The boy says not to worry. It is Greece like his brother deserved to die, and honestly, he even feels refreshed by his departure. That is because Dorisel was only 1 year older, but he was so bossy he was a nuisance to everyone. Then he says he has no idea if the MC is really a Seven Wings or not, but tells him not to underestimate the people of the main house since there is no one left to protect him here. The students keep analyzing the situation since this year there are 2 people from the Elmhame house. That means the other candidates are dealing with some really bad luck. To make matters worse, both the main house and the branch house are at war and no one wants to get involved. Smiles realizes he almost got into trouble. He calls the MC once again, seeing there was no way they would not recognize an Elmhame. He laughs about it and says he can just call him Aster. After that, the first exam location, a man congratulates everyone on their arrival and expresses his gratitude for their courage and patriotism. After all, the knights of the kingdom are different from provincial knights. These knights serve the king, putting their lives on the line every day just to protect him. He warns that today is a battlefield where everyone must prove their worth. The MC thinks it sounds ridiculous, but he is just glad he finally made it back to the academy. Becoming a kingdom knight was a dream he could never reach without wings. Now he is facing a massive world of elite warriors that used to be completely out of his league. At the very top of it all sits one man, the legendary commander-in-chief of the kingdom's knights, Roderick. To get there, he knows he has to crash this selection exam first. The instructor starts the first test, but before he even finishes speaking, Ansho slams into one of the candidates. Total confusion breaks out immediately. The instructor shouts that the last person left standing among them will be the only winner. Panic sets in as a literal rain of arrows starts pouring down on them. They get picked off one by one. Some group up to block the fire, and the instructor sees the veterans actually know what they are doing just like he expected. But even then, the survival rate is only 30%. The weak ones get hit fast, while a few elites hold their own. Meanwhile, the MC is just standing there, perfectly still right in the center of the storm. One guy wonders if Aster is insane or just paralyzed with fear. Gurion watches, hoping he gets turned into a pincushion, but then Aster draws his sword. With one simple swing, he uses his mana to obliterate every single arrow before they touch him. Everyone is floored because he did not even move a single step. He thinks it is fun and actually asks them to turn up the heat. He keeps blocking everything easily, leaving the other candidates wondering what kind of monster they are dealing with. Not a single arrow gets through. An instructor notices he is bending mana into an upward current and is honestly blown away by the skill. It is like he is standing in the eye of a hurricane. After a bit, the arrow barrage finally stops. The instructor realizes way more people survived this round than he originally planned for. He shouts at them to look at the bodies piled up around them. Anyone still on their feet just passed the first trial. There is no time to rest, so he leads the group straight to the next training area. Smite thinks this is totally nuts, especially since the instructor acts like that arrow storm was absolutely nothing. The MC asks if he is tired already. The veteran is fuming that Aster is acting like nothing even happened. The instructor notices the MC isn't even sweating, even after dumping that much money into his defense. He wants to see his next move. Gurion is also watching closely, remembering his orders. He has to stop Aster from becoming a knight at any cost. Apparently, the future of the Elmhame house depends on it. At the next area, Mason announces that to keep things fair, everyone has to swap out their swords before the briefing even starts. Smite thinks this is a huge hassle, but the MC wonders if things were different before. He replies that the blades used by mid-rank knights really aren't that different anyway. It is just a guess, but he thinks they are on air because of the MC's weird sword. He thinks it over. Right then, Gurion shows up and mugs his cousin for already treating himself a little lackey. Smite asks who he's talking about, and the noble says the boy is just the heir to some baron's house. He warns that some third-rate kid from the sticks will learn a painful lesson if he wags his tail at the wrong guy. This makes the boy freak out. He starts apologizing, claiming he has absolutely nothing to do with the MC. With that, he bails and joins a new group just to stay out of trouble. The instructor picks up to explain the rules for the second part of the test. It is a siege battle. You will be split into 3 teams fighting for camps in the forest. A camp is yours once your team's flag is raised. The team holding 2 or more camps when the night bell rings wins. Just don't destroy your own flags or make them unusable. That is strictly prohibited. There are no other rules. Consider those swords as permission to cut down or kill anyone in your way. Now he's going to announce the team rosters for all the candidates taking the test. Everyone waits for the teams, but the MC notices the smoke signal. The test has already begun. He knows there are 3 flags per camp. To win, they have to lock down at least 2 camps, including their own. Smite asks if that means only one team can actually pass the test. The MC says yeah and asks if he's worried about anything else. The other candidates are totally stressing. It means they will eventually have to throw down against a member of House Elmhame. Aster honestly does not get the concern. Smite explains that literally everyone is terrified of the Elmhame family. Their opponent is the young master of the main family. Even for a test, punting a sword at him feels insane. If they did, they could never call themselves honorable knights ever again. It is just too surreal to think about. In the absolute worst case, their entire families could be wiped out. Nobody wants to make an enemy of a house that powerful. Aster asks if they are just quitting. One guy says there is always next year, and that is way better than dying today. He adds that a guy like the MC could never understand how weak people feel. The MC laments. He never thought he would be totally isolated in a team fight, but it makes sense. The Elmhames are basically tyrants who cannot be challenged, and Gurion is the living symbol of that reign of terror. He remembers what Smite said. From an outsider point of view, he probably looks just as scary as the Elmhames do. Everything seems suspiciously quiet right now. He figures no one has actually started fighting yet. Maybe they are just being cautious. Suddenly, Bice picks up. He is surprised the MC actually showed up all alone. He assumes things are going exactly like a certain someone predicted. Aster has no idea who this certain someone is supposed to be, or why this guy is ripping the flag off his own gear. The Bond dude tosses it into the air. While the MC tries to figure out what is happening, even more knights suddenly appear. Gurion steps forward, leading the pack. He says he is going to show them the Elmhame way of combat. The battle kicks off with 20 participants across 3 teams. The group that holds 2 or more bases by the end will be declared the winner. Basically, planting your team flag at the enemy base is the only way to pass. That is exactly what is leaving the MC so intrigued right now. He asks Christopher if he was not on that yellow team. He really wants to know why the hell the guy is holding up a red flag. Christopher says it is simple. He made an alliance with House Elmhame. Above them, the instructor watches the fight. He knows the boy is from House Nolan, the famous founders of the Court Squad. He has 5 wings and managed to stay hidden during the first exam because the MC took all the spotlight. Only 2 people finished the Tower of the Arrow test without even breaking a sweat. Those 2 were Aster and Christopher. Both very exceptional talents destined to be great knights. It is honestly a shame they cannot both pass the exam. In the middle of the fight, the MC asks about the alliance. Even with a deal, only one team can actually win. Christopher explains that is exactly why he is letting the main house win. Right now, his teammates and the Elmhames are probably raiding his own base. Aster knows this is bad news. If he fights them, Smite and the others will be in serious danger. He wonders if Gorian threatened him or something. Why else would he agree to this plan? Christopher replies that no one stands in the way of a moving cart when they know they will get crushed. The knightly nobility is a strict hierarchy. This behavior is expected from those born noble. Aster blocks an attack as the guy strikes. He notices his blade is starting to crack. There is definitely something wrong with this weapon. The examiner handed over a defective sword. Christopher tells him not to worry since this is a fair duel. He never liked the Elmhame group anyway. He then tells the MC he especially dislikes him for being such a show-off. His next strike is powerful enough to shatter Aster's blade. Aster quickly grabs the broken sword tip. He flings it at the boy who blocks it without any trouble. But that was just a distraction to escape. The boy asks if he is really going to run. He says they will settle things later. Right now, there is someone else he needs to take care of first. Christopher thinks the MC is just scared. He believes this is a total disgrace to knights everywhere. That is when he spots the broken sword pieces on the ground. He realizes it was just a cheap, low-quality blade. This makes him furious. The Elmhames must have done some dirty work to mess with the gear. Reaching the camp, the MC yells for Smite, asking if he is okay. His cousin shouts down from the wall that he was insanely fast. It looks like Christopher didn't waste a single second. He really thought the kid could live up to the hype for once. Then he mentions they just finished locking down the third base. Aster tells him to sip it and he asks again what happened to the rest of his crew. Right then, a blade is leveled straight at his back. It was Smite's, and his voice was shaking hard. He begs him not to be mad since he never agreed to this plan anyway. He will join some idiot challenging House Elmhame. Gorian just laughs because these guys didn't even fight back. He says even country hicks know not to mess with a powerful house. Then the MC asks if Gorian really thought he could win just by outnumbering them in this fight. Gorian says he's got it all wrong. The game is already over. To win this battle, you only need to hold two bases until the test finally ends. So it doesn't matter if he's desperately sprinting through the woods planting flags everywhere. It won't help because he doesn't have the muscle to actually defend them. Basically, they just wait for him to go to another base, then simply swap his flag for a red one. Just like that, they will own two or more of the bases. Aster's look shifts. He says he'll make sure nobody can pull that off by taking all of them down. The candidates panic instantly. But Gorian screams it's a bluff. That sword is trash, so having 7 wings doesn't change anything. Without a real weapon, it's like he has no power at all. He asks if he's really bold enough to take on everyone here. The MC just laughs. He knows he's been caught. He holds up his totally shattered blade. Smite doesn't get why the weapon is falling apart. The MC actually praises his cousin for being smarter than he looks. Gorian celebrates, sure that he has already won. Suddenly, the MC drops low and kicks Smite, sending him flying back. Then he snatches the sword right out of his hand and slices through everyone standing around him. Gorian is stunned by this turn. Aster points up, seeing showing his face was a massive mistake. That is exactly why his cousin is going to lose now. Gorian calls him a monster, but the MC suddenly makes a truly massive leap. The kid is terrified because it looks like he's actually flying. He says his cousin is just way too slow. Then, with one quick strike, he shatters the sword. He thinks back to the first time he took flight. Since he was originally wingless, he can really feel the sense of absolute power while controlling mana. He grabs the kid and says having wings is pretty great. Gorian begs him to stop, but he doesn't even listen. He smiles and lands a powerful blow that hits like a total bomb. As the smoke clears, a terrified Smite asks what happened. The MC appears carrying his cousin, completely unharmed. Unlike Gorian, who is beaten and bloody, the redhead just collapses to the ground. He screams at everyone to stop standing around. He orders them to kill the MC now in the name of House Elmhame. Smite immediately scrambles to grab another sword. Aster asks if he really fears House Elmhame that much. He says of course he does. His family is only a third-class house. House Elmhame could crush them like bags if they wanted. To survive, people like him have to be submissive no matter how pathetic it looks. He screams that someone who had everything could never understand his struggle. Aster hears all of this and just smiles. The boy is confused. The MC says his sister once said the same thing. She told him he couldn't understand what it's like to have nothing. He has his own arguments, but he admits that right now he truly is blessed. And that's exactly why some things can only be done by him. He screams it out. House Elmhame is now his official enemy. He's going to crush that arrogant, overbearing boy with his own two hands. Every candidate is stunned by the declaration. Dorian can't wrap his head around it. While Schmidt asks if the guy even understands the words coming out of his mouth, he just shrugs and says yeah, because this is a declaration of war. He doesn't care how much people worship the Elmhames right now. That kind of devotion only leads to betrayal and a miserable, pathetic ending. He tells them if they want to avoid that, they have to fight fate. Aster wraps up by saying those 7 wings on his back were given to him for a reason. He tells them to choose carefully which Elmhame they'll follow, Dorian or himself. The orange-haired man screams for everyone to listen up. He says he remembers every face and name there, and if anyone even thinks about betraying them, they already know what kind of nightmare is coming for them next. Smythe is starting to panic, totally lost on what to do. He finally finds some courage and bolts towards the protagonist's flag. He begs him to actually help, saying he's giving everyone hope, and if he fails, they'll hate him forever. The protagonist gives his word. Suddenly full of confidence, Smythe hoists the blue flag and yells that he's the eldest son of his family, and he's standing right by Aster Elmhame's side. One candidate is in total disbelief, but another starts thinking it through. Dorian's plan is falling apart, and the orange-haired man is absolutely losing his mind with rage. Schmidt screams, asking what the hell everyone is doing. This is their shot to show those arrogant Elmhame snobs what they've got. It's time to bet everything on the 7 wings. People are still on the fence, but Aster thinks this is great. At least he won't have to run around planting flags all by himself. Still, it isn't enough. He's going to need a lot more allies to take on House Elmhame. Meanwhile, Dorian is slumped on his knees. One of his buddies walks up and asks if he's doing okay. He's livid, though, and screams for the trash to stay away. He can't wrap his brain around it. Some branch families come thinks he can take down the main house. He knows if this keeps up he won't even be able to look his own parents in the eye. He'll end up just like his brother did. As a 4 wings, he knows he's got to step up and do something. Right then, someone walks up and asks Dorian what the problem is, and why does he look so pathetic when he was fine 2 seconds ago. He realizes it's Christopher and snaps, asking where he's been since his one job was to handle Aster. He thinks this is actually perfect. He still has a powerful ally on his side. He knows the kid isn't on a 7 wings level, but when it comes to actual combat, he's stronger than anyone else on the field. Because of that, he screams for him to rip the protagonist to pieces. But as he's yelling, Christopher just chucks the flag right in his face. He says he only came back to return it. He explains that those methods he saw completely spit in the face of what a knight should be. In other words, their alliance is officially over. The candidates are losing it. Even the Nolan family is turning their backs on the Elmhames. The bar calls out to the main character, glad they finally met again. He asks if he really thought he breezed through the exam without a rematch. After all, the proud legacy of Nolan's swordsmanship doesn't just end here. He gets ready for battle. He charges forward with everything he's got, desperate to prove just how superior he really is. Our hero has no patience and says this will have to wait. He lands a perfect strike that shatters Christopher's sword against the dirt. The kid can't believe the power he's seeing is nothing like before. Then, the hero asks if he's already forgotten something important. Only one team is allowed to pass this exam. If both of them want to become knights, they've got no choice but to settle this by fighting right here. Aster admits that this would be a huge problem. He tells Christopher that he wants to see him become a knight of the kingdom too. The boy asks him what he's talking about. He explains the Elmhame situation is messy, and it wouldn't be right to ask someone that strong to dump their dreams just because they aren't on the same team. So he's got a plan to make sure every single person here passes. The boys can't believe it. They can't believe the absurd thing he's saying. He admits he can't guarantee it even if he's confident. But he'll need everyone to cooperate to pull it off. Then he heads over to Gurion, telling him there are way more important things to handle. By late afternoon, he wraps every team's flag together on a single pole. The instructor loses it, screaming at them, asking if they even know how to properly raise a flag at all. Our main character points out that victory requires occupying 2 or more camps. Since nobody ever said only one team's flag could fly at a time, they found a loophole. They decided to team up, forming a massive alliance to occupy every single camp together. The instructor asks if this is some kind of joke or if he even wants everyone to pass. Smiles worries at Wellfield while Gorian says the whole plan makes zero sense. Then the teacher snaps, if you are ordered to destroy the enemy territory, would you just shake hands and go back home? Aster shoots back that if the enemy is worth more alive than dead, then yeah, the instructor will not hear it, arguing a knight is just the state's sword and shouldn't be making those calls. Arlade asks if he is really going to disqualify them when they didn't break any rules. He suggests the examiner is just letting his own massive ego get in the way of the job. He is totally speechless. Then the main character leans in and whispers about what happens if everyone feels like this. He wonders if the powerful Elmhame family would really just stay quiet about it. The examiner realizes he is completely backed into a corner. They wait for an answer while Smite starts panicking, asking if our guy will be okay since everyone might end up failing the exam. Our main character admits he honestly does not know yet, but he feels relieved because, at the very least, passing is still on the table. Gorian stays quiet while a curious Smite admits he is shocked the rich kid actually agreed to work together. He is dying to know what was said to him. Laughing, the main character says it was not a big deal. Right then, the examiner swings the hall door wide open. He shouts that the director is about to announce the results, so everyone needs to listen up carefully. The results are coming, so pay close attention. That is all for now. If you liked the video, subscribe and hit that notification bell.